Welcome to Making Sense of AI Together, the podcast that explores how artificial intelligence is reshaping our everyday lives. I'm Claudine Wong, journalist and news anchor.
And I'm Lisa Bernard, a former TV journalist, now creating AI content on my Instagram channel, Demystify AI. Each week, we break down the buzz, cut through the hype, and help you make sense of the AI that's becoming part of your world.
And if you liked that intro, yes, AI helped us write it. We are putting it all to the test.
Well, we've said it before and we'll say it again. AI is here to stay, so you better get used to it and you better start to put your toe in the water. So whether you're on the bullet train we talk about, the kiddie train, just get on the train. Don't miss the train. That's what we're trying to tell you here, right? So the 2025 AI Index report from Stanford tells us that AI is poised to be the most transformative technology of the 21st century. I think we kind of knew that. We didn't need Stanford to tell us. But here are a couple notable numbers from the report. In 1 year, the FDA approved 223 AI-enabled medical devices. Also, we know cars like Waymo, they are not just this futuristic idea, especially here in San Francisco.
I know. Come visit San Francisco. You see 1,000.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. 150,000 rides a week. So, you know, self-driving cars, it's the future. And then last year, AI investment grew to $109.1 billion. So they're putting their money somewhere that they believe the future is. So, yeah, basically, you know, we're here to say that there's regulations. The investment in the U.S. is 12 times what it is in China, 24 times what it is in the U.K.
Leading the way.
Leading the way and definitely investing and committing to it.
Yeah, so lots to talk about. And this week, we're talking to Professor Ahmed Benafa, globally recognized. We like to talk to him as an expert in artificial intelligence, among many other things like blockchain, cybersecurity. Teaches at San Jose State, written 9 books, starting his 10th. That should be released next year. More than 300 articles. He's leaned on as an expert by lots of media outlets, including by us here at KTVU, a regular voice who really helps us make sense of this changing landscape, this rapidly changing landscape. 3 of his books and 2 of his last specifically hit on our favorite subject, of course, artificial intelligence. And his latest that was just released a few months ago is called Artificial Intelligence in Action. So we'd like to welcome to the show, and we want to talk about a few things. First, Lisa was on this live stream with OpenAI just today and covered a few topics that we're going to get your opinion on. We also want to talk about lessons that we've learned so far, and certainly, and you address this, kind of where we should embrace and where we should maybe pause. And then we'd kind of like to hit this dark side, because I like this, and I know you also talk about this, and the fears over it. Is it taking over? Are we all going to lose our jobs? Is it going to become smarter than us? Will it take over all of humanity? You know, the simple questions of life.
Just some casual conversation.
Yes.
All right. Well, let me tell you about this call this morning. I opened my email and was invited to this Q&A with Sam Altman. So quickly logged on, and there were some sort of big headlines, I would say. First of all, as many may know, OpenAI now has a for-profit arm and the nonprofit arm. And within the nonprofit arm, Sam Altman said that they are investing $25 billion to cure diseases, specifically cure diseases. It's kind of cool. And then the other big piece, they're talking about AI resilience. And he's talking really about similar to cybersecurity with the internet. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, he talked about his big desire that by September 2026, he thinks AI will be so advanced that it can behave as like an intern research assistant. And by 2028, could actually come up with its own hypotheses, generate its own experiments in science. So big emphasis on science and math. He also wants to be sure that users know that it's for them as well. Talked a lot about safety, privacy concerns with Model 4 going into Model 5 with the youth and some of the mental health threats, and talked a lot about infrastructure. So I look forward to hearing the expert as we open some of these topics up.
Okay.
I guess we should maybe start with the science piece. This $25 billion investment to
Yep.
cure diseases.
What do we think about that?
I think this is great. I think this is one thing that to justify how dominant is ChatGPT in the market. 2.5 billion questions answered by ChatGPT every single day. That's 82% of the market of the chat. The chat bot is actually controlled by ChatGPT. So when you talk about OpenAI, we're not talking about just a simple company of AI that have one tool. We're talking about an empire rising now. I look at it as they're challenging every single company you can see in the market. And to show some kind of a good faith for the community and to have some support from the community, of course, you can use AI to to solve complicated equations, but at the same time, we're looking forward to see how it's going to fight cancer, how it's going to find the new medicine that we have it for Alzheimer or for autism or any kind of current disease that or challenges we have. So $25 billion, to be honest, is nothing for OpenAI.
Yeah, I wonder when you're looking at things that you can tackle with artificial intelligence, and this is a big push on science and technology. There is the humanity of, yeah, let's cure cancer. Everyone can get on board with that. But then I think about the pharmaceutical industry, and if you cure cancer, then you also are the ones that people turn to, and you make a gazillion dollars curing cancer. Is the artificial intelligence industry picking certain things to invest in because also those things are money makers? I mean, not to be cynical, but is that part of the
Well,
motivation?
I think that I would say no, but maybe I'm naive. I mean, I think it's the easiest use case in a way because if they look at the genome and this AI, I say they, and can figure out, oh, this gene, that gene, we can replace it and cure cancer, or if they're looking at gallons of research and data and experimentation, and it can sort through it. That's, I think, the use case that gets us tripped up as humans.
Professor?
I agree with you. It's the thing about it is this is a race um, between all the pharma, all the companies that whoever will get to the finish line by saying, I have a cure for cancer and I hope that's going to be soon. You have to understand that cancer is not one type. Cancer is not one form. Cancer, there are so many, of ways and means to fight it. What's the concept of artificial intelligence is this is a tool that's going to elevate the speed, the accuracy, and it's not going to cut that's money because it's a software. The important thing, can I use it to achieve my goal faster instead of waiting for 5 years of research? Maybe AI can see something in the combination between the cells that I've never seen it before. Uh, the use of AI in the medical field is spreading. I'll give you an example. I went to the doctor last month, and the doctor told me, can I run this app on her iPhone? And I told him, just let me look at it. And it's basically an AI assistant app that's going to record whatever happened between me and between the doctor, analyze it, tell the doctor if she missed anything, and then take the transcript and upload it to my file instead of the doctor wasting their time typing all this kind of information. So if we think about how we can upgrade every step of the medical journey, if you want to talk about it for the patient, early detection, treatment very quickly, then yes, this is wonderful, and the companies will look at it because that's going to give them a better competition in the market because they can offer something which is faster and more accurate at this stage. So it's a race between them. Who's going to use it better to achieve that goal?
So let's move to the AI resilience that he spoke about this morning, because it's a lot like cybersecurity, which I know you're an expert in it's AI and cybersecurity, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Basically, this idea that they recognize the threat that it could pose if people don't trust it and if it goes rogue, right? And so they are comparing it to cybersecurity, where initially all of us were hesitant to put any of our personal financial data online. And now, sure, we give you our credit card and
Yeah.
don't know where it goes, but we trust it because of these cybersecurity advances. What is your view and concerns as you look at AI and what it can infiltrate in our lives?
Well, I mean, it's a very clever analogy, and I have to give him credit for that. Because when you're talking about cybersecurity, you're talking about firewalls, basically devices that will protect you against the traffic coming to the network, antivirus, anti-spyware, anti-spam, all these kind of things, where you can install it in the network so you can protect it. But now you are talking about protecting the AI system themselves from something called poisoning, which is data that inserted into the system, which is going to give the wrong answer or give the wrong advice, hijacking or hacking the system by outsiders. All of this has to be protected. He's talking about guide rails. He's talking about rules, and those rules will make sure that people feel safe and secure when they are using artificial intelligence. Their data is secure. The advice they give it to them is something that they can trust. At the same time, nobody can abuse it, whether it's national security or something which is personal security, at the level of the health or level of my personal information. So yeah, the AI resilience is really a good term that you can compare it to the cybersecurity.
Do they know, is it possible to keep up with it and predict where you might need those guardrails though? I mean, as we saw with OpenAI when it came to kids, they admitted, oh, we thought it was okay here, but we didn't realize over time that should a relationship build up with a kid who had mental health issues, that there weren't enough guardrails down the road, and they now are putting them in. Is it like that in all areas where you put in a best case, you think you've done it, but really it's going to get tested again and again and again in lots of different scenarios, and it may be only when they break that you learn, oh, wait, we needed to put one more guardrail in there.
Yeah, he spoke a lot about that today. He said, I've made a lot of mistakes. And he spoke about, I don't know if you saw a week ago or a couple weeks ago, that he said, I made a mistake when I talked about erotica. And he was talking about Model 4 being unsafe for children because of everything you're talking about, and introducing Model 5, and now saying, we think we have figured out the guardrails and we want to allow adults to act like adults and let them have these intimate erotic queries into the chatbot. He talked a lot about making the mistakes along the way, but to your point, is talking about your mistakes enough? What do you think, Professor? Do we trust that this company can rectify its mistakes from the past, cannot copy the mistakes Meta made?
Or
Well,
is it going to make mistakes going forward? A lot of them.
well, yeah. Honestly, he's not far away from the Silicon Valley mindset, which is move fast, break things. The whole story about it is that we do it, and if there is a problem, we're going to fix it. The issue here is very dangerous because this is not an operating system. This is not, a website like, other website where you can connect with friends and you're done. This is really going deep into the mental health of people. So to say that we never thought it's going to get to that stage is a little bit understatement, because if you're really very smart to build a chat GPT, I guarantee that you run through all the scenarios, the good and the bad and the ugly. And you have to plan for the worst case scenario by saying, we have to have something about somebody saying, I want to do this to myself or to somebody else. Then exactly what we have now, because now they're reporting any kind of a suicide, any kind of harming themselves or others. But it's not after facts. We don't have, to get to the point where somebody loses his life or her life, and then we can react to that one. This is a completely different game. The guidelines should be built before the train, not after.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is that we're doing that. The SB 53 that been approved by the governor, which is giving some responsibility about critical incident where you have to report it within 24 hours. If there is any problems, there will be an auditing. There will be some kind of whistleblower channels within the companies so they can talk about it. It's good. It's just what we are facing here is a technology that's going so fast, we cannot even breathe without seeing that it's really left the station and it's another station. We have to catch up with it so we can see what can go wrong in the next station.
Well, I guess that's, I mean, when you were talking about what Sam Altman was talking about in terms of time frame, that's what was getting me. I'm like, oh, by 2026. I'm like, that's next year.
Right.
I mean, the time frame is very quick, and the expectation of what AI is going to do is so fast. And Professor, I think that's what you're speaking to. There's no time to breathe. So how do people trust when that time, or how do you slow it down? Because even if Sam Altman says, I'm going to slow it down because I think we should, someone else is going to say, well, I'm going to speed it up. I mean, this is a race. And so, even if someone says, hey, we should all slow it down. It doesn't mean that people will.
Correct. That's right. It's not going to slow down. Companies will never slow it down because you're asking them to make less money. That's one important thing. The other thing is, and honestly, I mean, to clarify this point, if we don't do it, somebody else will do it. China will do it. Europe will do it. Other countries will be waiting for us to stop and breathe, and then they're going to say we're ahead of you. China, we used to be ahead of China for about 5 to 7 years. Now we're ahead of them by 12 months. Why? Because of the advancement in the artificial intelligence. So there is no time to look back. The key thing here is the speed of the regulation, the information from the government has to be up to date about what's going on, and the responsibility from within the companies. Now, one of the things that the companies are doing something called the red team. The red team is a team that collection of insider and outsider, academics, engineers, scientists, and somebody from inside the company. They're going to look at the product, and before you release this product, they will give you some kind of a feedback about it. It's like a movie. You show it to a sample, to a selective number of people. They can ask him, how is that goes? If you think it's good, should we take this clip? Should we, this is too much? That's what that's what we are looking for. We're not going to slow you down, but we're going to make sure that you're on the right track. You're not hitting somebody when you are going with that speed. It's very challenging. And the only state that can do that and do it right is California. And they are trying to do that. We have on the ballot a new, bill that is dealing with these kind of things, which is great to see a state like California thinking ahead of the game by saying, we're not going to slow you down, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you do it safe for everyone.
But is it a state regulation thing, or is it a federal regulation thing? I mean, it's hard to figure out where that's supposed to be.
Mhm.
It should be a federal, but I don't think this is going to happen. At least in the current administration, this is going to be the case, because the White House is against any regulations, because we have to be number one regardless of the side effects there. But the state took initiative as usual. California took initiative in this, and they say we're ground zero. We're going to set up the way or the example for everybody to follow us, and maybe other state will follow the same thing. It's a good tool. It's just when something bad happened, it's really bad. That's the problem of AI.
Well, and it looks like, I would say, it's California, but the Bay Area is where all the AI companies are coming. They want to be all here.
Right. And even California wants to win and keep the economy strong
Yes.
here. So
They're
you know,
motivated to.
right, they're motivated to keep AI moving fast. The other piece he talked about, which I think is interesting, is infrastructure. And he even played this whole video of this site in Texas to show how far along construction is on these data centers, which, of course, are going to take up a lot of property and give a lot of jobs at first. And so Sam Altman's talking about the construction and the construction workers and building these massive centers. But I was talking to someone who's in this industry. Once the center is up, you need very few people to run it. And so Texas for now has the land, and right, Professor, many data centers are going up there. But then it's not going to create a lot of jobs. So let's talk about job loss.
Feels a little like digging your own grave, like you're just creating something that is going to steal something.
Yeah, well, we're all concerned about the job loss. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's happening, and it's going to continue. We just heard today 14,000 corporate jobs from Amazon, which is about 4% of their corporate jobs, which is 350,000 all over the world, out of the 1.4 million employees they have. And we talk about Salesforce, 4,000, they lost their job. But you have to know where this kind of job cuts happening. It's in the supporting services, it's in the sales, it's in the HR. It is in the jobs that where you can automate. The issue I see here in Silicon Valley, we are going from augmentation to automation. We're going from AI will be part of the job for certain people to help them to replace that job completely. But on the other side, the hiring is going on, which is the people who know how to use AI. I mean, the general wisdom we have in Silicon Valley, AI will not take your job. People who know how to use AI will take your job. And that is the key thing about it, which is this is why you see companies like Microsoft, they name their AI tool as Copilot. Who's the pilot? You are the pilot in this case. So that is the key thing about it. You should not wait until it's knock on your door and then they ask you to train for that. You should seek and understand where AI can help you with your jobs. I receive this question all the time. How can I use AI in my job? My answer to them is ask ChatGPT. Describe your job and ask ChatGPT to help you find tools and ways to make sure that AI is part of your job as an assistant, not a replacement.
But I think if I question that a little bit, because so you were teaching computer science, or you are teaching computer science classes, and computer science kids are the ones who are like, oh my gosh, we learned Python, or I am not a STEM kid, but they learned all that, and now and they could literally, they were getting jobs thrown at them, and now with AI they're like, now I for it would seem to me that someone who is a computer science person could easily then say, well, science minded, I'm going to switch into that field. But someone who was stocking shelves that no longer need to be stocked because there's a AI robot that is now sorting for Amazon, and it's killed those jobs, is wondering, where is the job equivalent of that skill set in that area with AI that can replace that kind of job for me? Like, where can I adjust? I mean, if that's, and I think that's where people are there job equivalents, or are everyone going to have to learn a new type of skill for a new type of industry?
That's a very good point. When there will be certain jobs that cannot be replaced, and those jobs are exactly like we talk about the Blue Jay, which is the new robot with Amazon, which has three arms that can do the sorting, they can do the picking up, they can do the labelings at the same time, which is doing the job of three people, and there is one person to monitor it. There will be some jobs that can be disappeared. We've seen this one through the internet revolution, but it was on a certain speed. Now we see it so fast. There is no one day without hearing about layoffs going on in one of those big companies. Forget about the small companies. Forget about the medium companies that they say, I want to replace this with certain AI. And those jobs, they're not going to come back. But there will be an opening for new jobs. I mean, there's something called the AI whispers, which is basically you're talking about a position as an AI specialist, an AI ethicist, an AI trainer, AI, all these things, which is we used to do it without the AI. There will be a position where you can have the artificial intelligence as part of it. And I said again, there's certain position that cannot be replaced. There's no way for me to replace it.
Yeah.
It just you should not stay without looking at what will be the equivalent on this new universe, the new reshaping or replacing of the jobs.
So let me ask you this again in this call this morning. He said that, I don't want ChatGPT to be just for science and math, even though those might be the most obvious and most quickly advancing. He says, I want all users to be able to use it. And he talked about wanting this platform that will be open, that users can put their tools and services on top of the platform. I've also heard talk that it would be like the App Store with people creating. Could you explain? Because I'm not sure I follow what that means as a professor.
Okay.
What does that mean that there's this open platform and users create tools on top of it? Can you explain that?
Right. Okay. What's he's talking about? He's talking about taking over Microsoft in
Yes.
having open AI operating system. He is asking himself, and I'm just assuming this, why I should be under the mercy of the App Store or the Google Play Store where I have my apps there. Why I have to be under the mercy of Windows or Mac or iOS or Android if I can create my own open AI operating system, and then people can create applications like Smart Word, Smart Excel, and then they can install it on that operating system. Technically speaking, you buy the computer, and this computer is running something called open AI operating system, where you can add your own apps. So it's going to be a third option here. You have Windows, you have Mac, now you have the third option. This is what you're talking. This is the grand plan of OpenAI, which is to take on Google with their new browser, Atlas, that they announced, to take on Windows when it comes, or Mac when it comes to their operating system. And the same thing, they have their own apps. They have this store where you can just download it and get it. In the future, you're going to have a phone that's only running by OpenAI, where you can download those kind of apps. So it is a new giant that's rising now from this simple application. We heard about it in 2022.
But is he saying like engineers, coders, tech people? I sort of felt like he was saying he wants to amplify creativity. So does that mean like the average person? I'm just trying to think about apps right
Well, if you
now.
were dropping any app, you could put it on his store, is what he's saying, I
Right.
think, right?
But
So
I
that's
Yeah.
but separate from the store, was he also talking about you can be creative? I don't know if he's talking about using the platform. You know, there's small businesses now that create little mini apps, right? I don't know
Correct.
for hike. There's a hiking app. There's, is that what he means? Like a small entrepreneur could create something?
Yes, yes, and because their operating system, uh, very smart, it's going to understand what you want and save you time of trying to learn how to use the ChatGPT. You're going to be part of it. For example, I'll give you an example of that's what I envision if I'm in her shoes. Okay, I have small furniture. Business, and I would like to have some kind of a 3D pictures of the furnitures. I want to have it with good, the good views. People can turn them around. I want to create an app that this app people can download it. They can look at my products and look at everything. It's like going to the website of the store. This can be done now, but you have to have the help of OpenAI, and you have to have it on Windows or iOS or the Android. It's going to just go straight to the platform of ChatGPT and ask for it, and it's going to be created using the utilities of ChatGPT. So you don't have to recreate things. You can ask questions as a customer. You can ask for help when you are assembling IKEA, for example, furniture. All of these things will be available there. So that is what he's looking for by telling you that come to the smart, a program that will understand you, and you can build whatever you want at the top of it, and instead of having 2 or 3 steps to get what you want. Just to clarify what I'm saying, I have my students in the capstone, which is the graduate level, and the
Yeah.
senior project is the undergrad. I tell my student, I'm not going to sign off on your graduation, paper, on your project, unless 30% of your project is related to artificial intelligence, whether it's a chat, bot, or it is an analysis tool, and you're going to thank me for this later. I tell them that.
Great.
This is
That is
well,
a
this
great
is what I'm doing.
professor.
well, I
Thank
mean,
you.
certainly we have
Yes. Yep.
TechCrunch going on at that conference this year, and they were saying last year they had a box saying, "Is your project about AI?" And this year they don't even have a box because every project is about AI. It's not
Right.
even a
Correct.
question anymore because that's if it's not, there should be a box saying, "Why isn't your project
Right.
about AI?"
Yeah, no, I admire that because we've said a lot about professors who are leaning in and getting these students prepared for the world they will graduate into versus ones that are forbidding the use of AI, and even punishing. I mean, I know there's a fine line cheating versus embracing it, but obviously, to prepare your students for the world they're going to graduate into, the jobs they're going to need.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And they have to be ready. There is no chance. The competition is too high for them, and the rewards are really high. You see how much money they pay people, just to get there. The prompt engineers, which is the engineers who, understand your typing. When you type a question, their average salary is between $400,000 to $500,000. So when you are talking about this kind of money, of course they're going to ask you to work 80 hours a week to get this, but you will be ready.
I'm curious about this. So, you have been studying and doing cybersecurity, blockchain, computer science for how many years would you say that you
Uh, Almost 25 years.
25 years, right? But then
Yes,
OpenAI comes around 2 years ago, right?
correct.
And now you're teaching it. How do you teach yourself to be an expert on this brand new technology so that you can teach your students? Because, they want to ask you something about computer science, you can pull back your knowledge. You've got books you've written, you've got all this deep, deep knowledge, but you've got to learn faster than they do in order to teach them. But it kind of revealed itself. And really, I mean, for everyone, I think that's why professors are struggling, right? It's hard to find an expert on AI unless you're going to Sam Altman, right? Like it's really difficult. How do you become the expert on AI for your students and for us?
No, yeah, that's a very good question, and it's a very smart observation. Uh, technology and science, they are related, and they are not like suddenly you have something created from nowhere. There is the relationship. Most of the artificial intelligence, we talk about it, whether it's the generative AI, which is ChatGPT, they have their roots in the regular computer science and artificial intelligence that have been there for many years. The only thing is that now you have to understand the difference. I compare it to like having a smartphone, and then you have a new operating system for the smartphone, and then there are few features that you have to be aware of them. It's very easy for you. Your learning curve will be faster. Why? Because you already been through the process. You can really explain that to yourself. Okay, so this is happening because of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the foundation is there, and this is what we try to build with the student. We tell them we want to prepare you for the next revolution. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. Quantum computing is going to be there. Nobody knows about that. But at the same time, you don't just reset and start from zero. You already have foundation to understand.
I wanted to ask you, switching gears a tiny bit to profits and companies and the AI bubble that some are, warning about, if you don't mind. So I know there's been a lot written just in the last couple of days about companies investing billions and billions. I think Goldman Sachs 60, I don't want to say the wrong number, investment. And maybe it's the ROI has been slower than expected, or maybe they are over-investing, and New York is not as bullish on it as we are here in Silicon Valley. What are your thoughts on the profitability of AI in companies, and if there's a bubble and if it matters?
Well, it's really a challenging vision here, because you're looking at the future. They're not expecting to make money next year or the year after that. They're looking at dominating the market. When they dominate the market, that's mean everybody will be under their own products. They buy their own products. Besides, it's the difference between this technology, artificial intelligence, and other technologies. Companies can use it inside the business itself, meaning I'm not just selling the product to the public where I'm asking for the return on investment. I'm using it inside the company, so I can streamline the businesses and reduce the number of the people working inside the company. So they're seeing some kind of a return, indirect return, by reducing the expenses, and AI is helping them. 30% of the code of Meta, Facebook, is written by AI. 25% of the code of to 30% of Google is written by by AI. So when you talk about a number like this with a company with hundreds of thousands of people, you think about how companies actually making money, increase their revenue, reduce their expenses. So this is the arm that they are hitting here. That's the case.
But what about a Goldman Sachs? And the number was 6 billion. I checked it. Not a tech, right? You quoted Google and Meta, which are tech companies. What
Right.
about a different company that's panicky and, oh, we got to invest in AI, quick, quick, lots of money into AI. And then they're like, we don't really know what to use it for, but we know we're supposed to invest in it. And then, separately, are these companies overvalued? A huge percentage, of the stock market is these AI companies now. But again, does it matter if that's where the future is?
Yep.
Does the
It's the
valuation
future.
matter? The train has left the station, to keep our metaphor going.
Absolutely. And those companies in like Goldman Sachs and the others, they're under pressure from their own investors,
Yeah.
because their own investor looking at it and they say, why are you not doing this? I mean, look what happened with Apple. A lot of the investors, they're not happy with Apple, stand on the AI, because there's no new Siri that can, you know, um, stop everybody by saying, okay, that's it. They're talking about 2027. They're going to have one, and many people are not happy with it. They say, why you are not doing that? So it's a pressure from the investor. At the same time, there's studies about it. They invest in companies that they own stock in them, and they see those companies are really saving money. At the same time, they are selling those kind of products. The Look at the search of Google. You go and search something now, the first thing comes up is basically an answer from Gemini, which is basically the AI, and that is really helping uh, Google to sell their own products. Why? Because now they can have Gemini that's sold to so many of the companies by saying you can find answers to whatever you want. Look at the stats we have and the training we have to our program.
Yeah.
So this kind of I'll put $10, I'll get 100 right away. it does not apply. The speed here is not as fast as the AI. It is a matter of time until you have a big share in the market. And then
Yeah.
after that, when you're going to set up your own prices.
And I think it's hard to determine what industry you're really investing in. I mean, investing in construction, you're investing in all these different industries use AI in some form or fashion, and so either way, you're investing in it because it's
Right.
running all of these industries. If we could go to kind of, I mean, is there any place? I mean, we've talked about all these places that AI is helping. Is there any place that you think it's not helping? Is there any place that you would kick it out and say, you know what, I don't actually think this is making it better, and maybe we should put a pin in this one?
The problem is not the AI. The problem is actually the users. I mean, it's very good for mental health. It's very good for medicine. It's very good for education. But when you talk about something, we call it homework laundering. I'm going to explain to you what's the concept of homework laundering, which is we discovered that recently. So there's a set of questions. You go to ChatGPT, you ask those questions, and you get the answer. And then you ask ChatGPT to reword it so it will be a little bit different. And then you take the answer and go to Gemini and ask take
Mm.
the answers and ask Gemini to reword it. So now it's went through multiple stages, and then I give it to the professor, we give it to the grader. There is no way for them to find out this is an AI because it's went through multiple stages to identify which tool you use there. So
Kids
that
are
is
doing
the
this.
abuse.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the key thing is that it's not the tool, it's who's using the tool.
Mm.
That some people, they should not use that tool at a certain situations.
It's not a technology problem; it's a people problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and,
Well,
and, and there is a saying that too much help is no help, and this is a key thing here.
I used it. I was testing it on creative writing, and one thing that was interesting is it, and maybe this is still coming, but not yet. Is it able to do like textures and senses? And so it was comparing like a day at the beach, and its version of the story was very factual, and this is what happened, and the human side was very I feel the sand beneath my toes. So I think there is still hope for creative people and creativity where you can still stand out from the
Although it's
machine.
learning, the machine is learning, and
Yep.
so I
Yep.
mean, and the more creativity it learns, it can
True.
mimic, I think. Do you think then, I feel like we always go back to the kids when we talk about the
Yeah.
dangers of AI. It's all about introducing it too early. It's all about abusing AI. It's all about homework laundering, cheating, all of these things because they're not developed. And we want their brains to develop properly. We want them to learn. We want them to do all of these things. We want the guardrails up for their mental health. Not that adults don't have mental health problems, but we feel as a society, I think that the kids also need an extra layer of we're
Right.
gonna watch out for you. Um, would you agree that that's that seems to be an area that is rising to the, if we're going to talk about AI and be worried about it in kind of capacities, this is the area where we should pause and say the users, maybe by no fault of their own, or maybe by some fault of their own, but maybe because their frontal lobes aren't developed quite yet, we need to pause and maybe as a society stop and take a look at how we can better manage them.
We're trying to avoid the mistake of the internet, which is the age verification. I mean, that's the same problem we have. YouTube is trying a new style, which is they're studying the behavior of the kids on YouTube. So if they can decide that this person is really a kid below a certain age, then they're gonna restrict the account of that person. I mean, the thing about upload an ID, a government ID or something like that's not going to work. Nobody want to have their privacy and or ID to be somewhere servers. So we are facing exactly the same problem with AI, which is how would I know that that person or that human is really 13 years old or 16 years old, have some issues, and he or she is typing. The only way is to use AI to analyze what he or she is talking about
Hmm.
and link it. It's not just we have an account, you're going to say, okay, yesterday he or she talked about this, they talk about this before, and then try to build a profile about that person. If that person at risk, then the technology can help us. The laws and regulations will help with this by saying you have to report that. We're not going to leave it for the company to decide what is the level of risk that this person is facing. So this is better than what we have seen on the internet, better than, because we have a tool that's going to communicate with the user and try to understand the user and the profile of the user, and then take it and say, okay, you are at risk. I have to report this to the authorities or the police or whoever that can help you with that. Another thing, Sora 2, the new imaging video, if you see in the video, you're going to see the logo of Sora is floating across the screen. That's good. That's mean I don't know, this is a fake, this is a deep fake, video. We need these watermarks. Another thing that this is something that suggests this to the companies is, from time to time, remind the user that I'm just an AI. I'm not a real person. If you go deep, in the discussion and say, hey, listen, you're talking to a machine, you're not talking to a human, then you continue. It's like something that would remind them that not to get into this mode like the movie Her, and then get so much attached to the machine, because nobody is reminding that this is just a program.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think they are going to start popping that up, reminder
Yeah,
that's a machine. It's so weird that we need that,
we do
but we
though.
do.
I mean, I guess that takes me to like our final like thoughts of, is AI eventually going to be smarter than us, and is it going to take over the world and humanity? Because I mean, these movies are coming out and they're like scary close to actual fears, and then they put it in on a big screen where you could actually see that world, and you're like, oh, well, maybe that will happen, which is terrifying.
Well, here's the foundation of that. The AI has three levels. The narrow, which is, Siri and Alexa, question and answer, you're done. And then the general, which is, we're approaching that, which is similar, close to ChatGPT. And then the super. The difference between all of them is, the narrow is the human smarter than the AI. The general is the human and the AI has the same level of intelligence. The super, when the AI is smarter than the human. And that's where they have the risk. You even have the risk when you are in the general, because now have the same thinking as the human itself. And it's really getting to the example you guys told me when Sam Altman talking about two levels in 2026 and 2028. The first one is like an intern, and in the 2028 you're going to have somebody, a program that will have hypothesis. The first one is helper. In 2028 is going to be thinker. That's going to think about the hypothesis and build on that. We're not close to the super AI, which is the Terminator, Skynet, and you can think about all those movies. We're worried about the next one, which is the general AI, where our intelligence and the intelligence of the machine is the same. And when I talk about the intelligence, I'm not talking about the average person. I'm talking about the most intelligent person on this planet. Out of the 8 billion people, that is the base for the intelligence in this case. And now you're going to have a problem. One example, they ask one of the tools, I don't want to mention the name of the tool, but they ask it about, okay, we have too many people on this planet. How can we solve the problem of population and use of the resources? Get rid of 1 billion out of 8 billion.
They
That
also
was the
made a
answer.
movie about that.
Right. Yeah,
It's
That's,
yeah,
I mean, so I guess that's the question. Should we be should there be a stop to this? Should there be a thing that, I mean, I don't know how you stop that, but I mean, Sam Altman's very excited about making a helper. There's a timeline for it. What was the date?
well, by March 2028, like full, maybe
2 years, right?
independent
The
researcher.
general person who is smarter than most people, the smartest person in the room, is
right.
replicated. A clone of the smartest
Well, they
person in the
won't give
room.
an exact. They're very careful not to
But
do the age. Yeah,
but it's a couple years. I mean, if
but a
we're
couple
moving that
years in
fast.
medicine,
In
sure.
medicine,
Hmm.
right?
Hopefully not in weapons systems.
Yeah, there's a movie for that too, right?
Yeah.
Does that scare you, Professor? I mean, is that something where you're saying, okay, the general, as we're approaching the general, we're maybe not at the super, but should we be concerned? Are you concerned?
Yes, and this is why I signed that paper. It was signed by, Prince Harry, signed by, 22,000, academics and engineers and scientists. There's a lot of famous people, signed that paper, and asking them to stop and think, not stop the production and say, okay, what is the worst case scenario? And this is what I've been talking about, again and again with so many of the meetings, is we don't think about the happy days. We have to think about what if something went wrong. This is where you prepare for. It's the worst case scenario. And then what are you going to do? Do we have, a switch that we can turn off, and the whole thing can go down? Do we have something that can go inside the AI to stop it, like what we have seen in iRobot, where you can inject something and it's going to stop it? All of these things, we don't have the luxury of the internet that's going to expand over 20, 25 years where we're going to progress. This is happening in the speed of light. In less than 2 years, we're talking about the risk to humanity. We never talk about that before. We only talk about it at the case of nuclear bombs. That was the only time when we talk about it. Now we're talking about this. And if there is no kind of transparency and rules that will make sure that we're not going outside that, United Nations, any kind of organization that can sound the alarm, then I'm worried about they're going to wake up one day about, a system took over the airports in some country, or TV stations or trains or a water system or electrical grid somewhere, and then we talk about nobody can do anything about it because the system is in control. Now we have to negotiate with the system. How can we stop that system? What we worried about here is the AI create their own AI, and it's going to be too late to do anything about it.
Well, I did ask, and he didn't take my question. I did type in my question for Sam Altman was, what concerns you about the tech you created? And hopefully he stops to think about it a little bit.
Sometimes a non-answer is the answer, as we have learned as journalists, right? Not to say that that's what he purposely did, but I'm just saying sometimes the non-answer is the answer. Professor, you didn't make me feel better.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I prefer.
But we seek the truth. We seek the truth here.
These are important discussions as we talk about how, certainly ChatGPT can help us figure out what to make for dinner. We should also figure out how to save humanity.
Right. On our list of things to do.
On the list of things to do tonight, let's think about both those things. And certainly, and your next book you're writing right now is on AI?
Yes, it's actually about the strange things in AI. All the strange things we see, the behaviors, and how AI really thinking in a different way. And there are some stories about AI is preserving itself. When there's an experiment, if they try to shut it down, it's copy itself on another computer, and then threatening the engineers that if you erase me, if you delete me, I'm going to tell them about your affairs with so and so because I have a copy of the emails between you and picture between you and her. So we don't want to get to that stage about it. So these things of behaviors that we see it from the artificial intelligence, evolution is going to surprise us. We're going to hear about so many surprises. One of the surprises at my level is I went to Safeway. I want to buy a toothbrush. And then I only spend like $15 maximum if you want to, reward myself. I look at the shelf and there is a toothbrush for $180. And I say, what is this? And it is an AI-enabled toothbrush that's going to study the way you are brushing your teeth, report you, basically report you to the dentist, and then give you some kind of advice how to improve your health. So that's $180.
It's gonna tell them that you don't floss. You get the floss lecture every time you go to the dentist anyway. I get it. The back teeth, they need more attention. Wow. I actually think that should cost more than $180. Or maybe they should pay you to take that home.
Right. Maybe they should pay for your dentist.
Yes. What a great conversation.
Thank you,
Professor
so much.
Ahmed Banafa. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Love talking to you on the podcast. On our newscast, we have to cut off these discussions much sooner, and there's always so much to discuss. We're going to lean on you again. We can never hit all the information.
Thank you so much for all your wisdom here. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good questions. I like it.
Yes.
Great.
Stay on top of it.
I'll do that. No problem.
Stay on top of it. All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thanks for listening and watching, everyone.
Bye.